I'm Monica Sanford, and my role is Assistant Dean of Multireligious Ministry in the Office of Ministry Studies. I have 2 books, and it was really hard narrowing it down to 2. Academics problem, I know. So the first book is The Making of Buddhist Modernism by David McMahon. So this book came out a few years ago, let's see, 2008. And this book was really helpful for me as someone who studies Buddhism in North America to understand some of the causes and conditions that are all interconnected in how we understand and make use of Buddhism as Buddhists in North America, both from adaptations and currents and forces and changes that influenced its presentation in Asia and that continue to influence its presentation in North America, Europe, and other Western countries. So this book is very academic, but it was very helpful for me just personally, because I would see things in Buddhism and I'm like, why is that being talked about in that way or presented in that way? And this book explained a lot, but it also left a lot of questions. So it gave me hope that these things, we could have conversations about them intelligently and we could continue to investigate these subjects. McMahon talks about the currents of modernism, which basically are cultural currents. So things like romanticism, things like the emphasis on individual experience, things like what we call the inward turn, this turn towards paying attention to our inner experience as a relevant source of information about the world. And that's extremely important in my work as a chaplain and in the training I provide to other Buddhist ministers, chaplains, and future leaders, as well as all other students, really. Because these forces, they're not just affecting Buddhism, they're affecting all the students who we educate here and who go out into the world, because modernism is this much bigger thing. But by understanding how modernity affects culture through studying its effects on Buddhism, I can have a much broader outlook on how that is impacting the experience of all of our students. So the second book, I'm so proud of this book. This is a near and dear book. Brightly Shining Jewel, How Sanghas Can Care for Their Buddhist Chaplains. And it's the research project that myself and my 2 graduate, well, actually there's been 4 graduate research assistants who've worked on this project over the last year and a half. And I'm a qualitative researcher. I interview and I do surveys with working Buddhist chaplains, and they tell me all kinds of things about their work. One of the things they told us was that their Buddhist communities, their sanghas, their dharma centers, their temples, don't always understand what they do as Buddhist chaplains. Sometimes they support it. They're like, yes, go do that, but they don't actually know what the work is, or how the community can then support the chaplain in doing that work. So we wrote this little guidebook. We did surveys and interviews with Buddhist chaplains about the relationships they have with their communities, the support they get, the support they sadly sometimes don't get, the support they want. And then we wrote this little guidebook, Brightly Shining Jewel, How Sanghas Can Care for Their Chaplains. And by that we specifically mean Buddhist communities caring for Buddhist chaplains who then go out and work in hospitals or prisons or schools, wherever it is they work. And so it's a little guidebook. This is the first little print run. So we're testing, like the page margins and all of that. And it's just this little book, and it's got these gorgeous little graphics that one of our students made. And it's got quotes from the chaplains that we interviewed. And it's got like charts and data about what was important to the chaplains and how many of them are affiliated. What's the difference between chaplains who have a community versus chaplains who consider themselves to be unaffiliated, or maybe they had a community in the past but they feel like they can't be part of that community anymore for many reasons. So we just created this little guidebook, and the hope is that we'll be able to print it and distribute it for free, a limited print run, and then it would live for free as a PDF online so that communities can just have access to it and download it whenever they need it. Maybe chaplains will download it and give it to their communities. But our hope is that we can foster stronger relationships between Buddhist chaplains and their communities for the benefit of both the community, who has this incredible resource in the Buddhist chaplain, and the chaplains who need to rely on their communities for spiritual training and strength and formation so they can go out and do their good work in the world. So I'm just so proud of the work that the students have done. They came in not knowing anything about how to do qualitative research, and then they produced this, which is so wonderful and brilliant, and I'm so looking forward to getting it out there into the world. At least three of the four students who worked on this project are studying to become chaplains. And because they're just starting their studies, they don't even really know what it means yet to be a chaplain. But by doing interviews and reading surveys from working chaplains, they felt like the future profession was illuminated to them in new and important ways, but they also felt invested, like they could help other chaplains who are out there in the work now. They're seniors. They could tangibly contribute to the profession even while they're still in training. So they just felt so motivated by this. They dove right in. They learned all these new skills that they didn't have experience with, and really mined what I call our data set, right? Our data set, that's like our interview transcripts and our survey results. They mined our data set for wisdom, not only for their own work as chaplains, but that they wanted to share to help the profession and to help themselves in the future. One thing that I'm always conscious of is that the academic work, like McMahon's, is so informative of the qualitative work that we do with the Buddhist chaplains. So when I do surveys and interviews with Buddhist chaplains, one of the lenses through which I understand what they're telling me and then can put it into conversation with larger cultural currents is through work like The Making of Buddhist Modernism. So these books, even though one is a simply written guidebook for anybody to read and one is like this dense academic tome, they are deeply interrelated. And you don't get one without the other, so we need to support and continue both kinds of work.